Good morning. Thank you for viewing this service. This is a very special service in that you can only see this in a cyber fashion. Even as you watch this, I am giving a separate service at the temple, but we were not able to broadcast today. So this is a special pre-recorded Shotsuki Hoyo service for the month of April. Thank you very much for viewing. As always, I must thank our videographer and tech specialist, Alan Goto. I have to thank Kathy Kumagai for also helping to get this on the net, and my wife, Kyoko Okura Gibbs, for doing the flowers. I will now read the names on our April Shotsuki Hoyo list. This is a list of all those members, family, and friends of the temple members whom we know have passed in the month of April. If you lost someone in the month of April and their name is not on our list, please just let us know. There's no charge for this. We'd be happy to read their name each April, as we will do now. Reading the April Shotsuki Hoyo list. Doi Tomoyo, Fujikawa Masao, Fujimoto Kenji, Fukumoto Suma, Goto Tsune, Goto Yoshio, Hanashiro Seiichi, Harabe Kazuaki, Hayama Yonekichi, Hida Yuko, Hino Naokichi, Horowitz Nishimoto Michi, Ikeda Dr. Kazuo, Inoue Kurakichi, Ishihara Kohei, Ishita Shizuko, Iwata Masu, Kawahara Hinasaku, Kawahara Sumako, Kawamoto Masami, Kikawa Alice, Kimura Mamoru, Kiriyama Aki, Kobayashi Sumie, Konishi Tomi, Kubo Tamino, Matsumura Buichi, Mitsuoka Shigeru, Muraki Kayo, Muraki Toraichi, Nagata Nami, Nagatani Ito, Nakagawa Mitchell Mitsuo, Nakanishi Yukiko, Nakatani Sei, Noda Satoru, Noda Tarayuki, Okazaki Fuku, Okazaki Shohachi, Oki Saichi, Okida Hizume, Okuno Mitsuko, Omori Fumio, Omura Tsura, Oshita Rikie, Otake Shizue, Otani Hamako, Saeda Asaichi, Sakai Gonzo, Sakiyabu Shigeichi, Sakamoto Some, Sakamoto Tsune, Sato Tadao, Sera Rikue, Tsunada Kiyomi, Takagi Masaichi, Takeda Katsuichi, Tamura Shie, Tanaka Tazuno, Tanaka Yoshitaro, Tanimoto Shigeyoshi, Tarumoto Naoichi Tom, Tsukida Shiki, Tsukimoto Tarashi, Utsumi Takeo Babe, Ue Tanaka Toshiko, Wakasa Hisashi, Wakasa Mitsue, Watanabe Tome, Yamada Nitaro, Yamaguchi Yasuyoshi, Yamamoto Tamigoro, Yamane George, Yamane Ishi, Yamane Tsune, Yamasaki Jun, Yamasaki Masuichi, Yamasaki Teruo, Yamasaki Ryoso, Yamasaki Satoko, Yamashita Naota, Yamashita Yoshino, Yano Kizo, Yoneda Hatsue Su. These are the names of those we dedicate this service to. Namo Amida Butsu, 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 Namo Amida Butsu. I will ask you now to join me in the chanting of the Sanbutsuge. Namo Amida Butsu, 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 Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Buddhamanda, Namanda 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 Buddhamanda, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu. Busatsu Daimuryo Jukyo Sanbutsuge Kogen Gigi Ijin Mugoku Nyode Enmyo Muyo Tosha Nichigatmani Shuko Enyo Kaishten Onpe Yunyaku Jumoku Nyolai Yogen Shothe Murin Shongaku Daion Koru Jipo Taimon Shojin Sammai Chie Itoku Muryo Shusho Keiyu Jintai Vennen Shobuten Hokai Gujin Jinno Kugo Gaitai Mumyo Yokunu Seison Yomu Nin O Shi Jintoku Muryo Kukun Kodai Shie Jinmyo Komyo Iso Shindo Daisen Ganga Sabuten Taisho Ho Kado Shoji Nihu Gedaten Pute Joi Kainin Shojin Nyode Sammai Shie Ijo Gote Tokubuten Fugyo Shigan Isai Kuku Issa Dayan Keshi Ubuten Yakuten Nokuman Muryo Daisho Shunyong Goja Kuyo Isai Shito Shobuten Funyo Gudo Kensho Hungyaku Hinyo Goja Shobuten Hukai Bufu Kage Mushu Sendo Komyo Shisho Kenshi Shokokunyo De Shojin Ijin Hanryo Ryoga Thabuten Kudo Daichi Goshu Kimyo Dojo Chozaten Kokunyo Nayon Nimu Toto Gato Aimin Dodaten Isai Jippo Laisho Shinnetten Shoujo Ito Gakoku Keiraku Anon Kobuten Shinmyo Dega Shinsho Hotsugan no Hi Rikisho Shoyoku Jippo Seison Chie Muge Joryo Shison Shiga Shingyo Keiryo Shinshi Shoku Dokuchu Kagyo Shojin Ninju Huke Ganiya shikudoku, Jodo Shinshu Don Modai Shin Hoyo on Ra Koku. Namanda Burmanda, Namanda 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 Burmanda, Namanda 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 Burmanda, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu. We'll ask you to join me for the singing of Ondokusan. Please remain standing for our devotional reading today, and that will be the Jodo Shinshu lifestyle. Shin Buddhist life principles. This reading put together by the leaders of the Yamaguchi prefecture about 40 years ago. Shin Buddhist life principles, the Seikatsu Shinjo. Please read along with me. The Shin Buddhist life principles: entrusting the vow of the Buddha, calling out the Buddha's name, I will pass through the journey of life with strength and joy. Revering the light of the Buddha, reflecting on my imperfect self, I will strive to live a life of gratitude. Following the teachings of the Buddha, discerning the right path, I will share the true Dharma with all. Rejoicing in the compassion of the Buddha, respecting and aiding all sentient beings, I will work towards the welfare of society and the world. Namo Amida Butsu, 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 Namo Amida Butsu. Well, again, good morning, and thank you for viewing this service. Sorry that my singing and chanting a little worse than usual even, and the talk will be a little longer than usual, but please bear with me. I appreciate your viewing this service, and again, let me thank Alan Goto for all his hard work. Also, Kathy Kumagai and Kyoko Okura Gibbs. This again is our Shotsuki Hoyo service for the month of April of 2023. and I will address the issue of losing, still loving, and wondering how to express our love for those who have died. I will dwell somewhat briefly on this important matter this month. There is no more important matter. Nonetheless, I also want to bring up some basic ideas that were foundational for our founding guide Shinran, our founding first Gomonshu, Shinran Shonin, whose vision of Mahayana culminating in the vows of Amida Buddha is foundational for our school. Turning back to the Shotsuki Hoyo, at the time of the April memorial service, I always recall my Aunt Ruth. She died in April of 1971. She is the person who introduced my parents, so I only exist thanks to Aunt Ruth. And unfortunately, the day we got the call that she died in April of 1971, I've forgotten which day in April, I had just come back from the dentist after having all 4 of my wisdom teeth pulled out. This is Fresno, California. So my aunt lived down here in Downey. So my parents my parents and my sister went to the funeral, and they had to leave me at home because I wasn't fit to travel. And so I regret missing her funeral. I only exist because of Aunt Ruth, because she introduced my parents. I liked her. I liked her, and I owe her, and I miss her, and I missed her funeral. This tradition of Shotsuki Hoyo, recalling those we love each month, allows me to still honor her. Again, I don't remember the exact day she passed, but it was in April, and I think of her each April at these services. My Aunt Ruth Gibbs died of breast cancer in her mid to late 40s, 52 years ago. Her sister, the closest of the 6 siblings to her, the one she lived with all her life, the one who shared the same food, ate the same food she did, shared the same lifestyle, and as well as having almost all the same genetic material, her sister, Katie Gibbs Hayes, lived to be 103. Ruth, about 43. 60 more years, same lifestyle, same genetics. Life is uncertainty. Life is uncertain. We live in the midst of uncertainty, and we always shall. Life is filled with uncertainty, but death will come eventually. One of the few certainties. You all know the colloquialism that there's nothing sure except for death and taxes, but I prefer Marvin Gaye's lyric from Trouble Man. Marvin Gaye picked up that colloquialism in his song Trouble Man, and Marvin Gaye's version is, there's only 3 things that's for sure: taxes, death, and trouble. This I know. Marvin's take is more Buddhistic than the colloquialism. He adds dukkha, suffering. There's only 3 things that's for sure: taxes, death, and trouble. This I know. Suffering always shadows our lives, and it pertains to the human condition. There's always trouble. If we're not in any particular discomfort right now, we still know that hardships could be coming. They could be on their way. And this is stressful. We need a strong foundation to cope with this situation. For our founder, denominational founder Shinran Shonin, that foundation was the fundamental intent of the vows of Amida Buddha. That was his foundation, the fundamental intent of those vows. Reading the 48 vows listed in the sutras, he saw the fundamental intent of Amida, of all Buddhas, of the Buddhist religion, which is that all living beings become wise and kind, joyful and free. This is what it's all about. The intent of the Buddhist religion, the intent of the vows of Amida Buddha are that all living beings become wise and kind, joyful and free. This foundation, though, is an ongoing process. In our awoken forms later, we will engage actively in this process, this transformative venture of saving all beings. When we awaken completely to Buddhahood in the future, we will be more actively engaged, more effectively engaged in this activity, the realizing of the well-being of all persons, places, and living things, all things. For now, we try to live in light of that intention of well for all. It helps to remember that we are part of this worthy enterprise to say the Nembutsu on occasion, or to hold it silently in reflection. There are many forms: Namanda, Buddhamanda, Namanda, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Kimyo, Jinjipo, Mugeko, Nyorai. We just put up on our annex the calligraphy by the Gomonshu's grandfather, which reads Muryo-ko. That's also the name of the Buddha, Muryo-ko, light beyond measure. This is what we're talking about, light beyond measure, wisdom light beyond measure, transforming light beyond measure. To say that name aloud, Namo Amida Butsu, or hold it silently in reflection on occasion, any one of these forms, to be in touch with this active promise of good for all, the promise to work for the well-being and the safety of all living beings, to live in the light of this promise and to live with some gratitude is what we hope for in our stream of tradition. We need a strong foundation to cope with our situation. Again, this is Shinran's foundation, which he holds out to us. Hearing the name as the actual promise of liberation, hearing the name Namo Amida Butsu as goodness encompassing us, encountering the Nembutsu as that unwavering commitment to us and to all, this has an irresistible pull upon us. Shinran compares it to an imperial order. When you actually hear Namo Amida Butsu as the Buddha's calling, Namo Amida Butsu as the promise of goodness for all, Namo Amida Butsu as kindness extended in all directions. Once you hear this, it has the effect of you, as Shinran put it, of an imperial order. In his day, you just got an order from the emperor to appear at court. What are you going to do? You're going to appear at court, because if you don't, whatever's going to happen in court will be worse. You got to go. You got to go. Now, that's a negative analogy, but it's how Shinran felt about it. When he heard Namo Amida Butsu and realized it was the compassion of the Buddha, he had to walk this path, just like you got to go when the emperor sends you that summons. I might make the analogy, we recently here in Pasadena had someone who goes to the same gas station I do and buys lotto tickets there, Powerball tickets there, just like I do, and he bought a ticket the same day I did, and he won $2 billion. If you got that ticket, okay, imagine it was you. You went to Joe's Mobile. You got this lottery ticket. It's worth $2 billion. Now you know you lose half of it for getting a payout, so it's down to $1 billion, and then you got to pay taxes. You're going to walk away with nothing more than $800 million. But even though it's just $800 million, you got that lottery ticket. Are you going to turn it in? Oh, eventually you will. You will turn in your lottery ticket and get your winnings, just like you will attend the court when the emperor summons you. Just like Shinran felt, Namo Amida Butsu. Oh, I have to walk this path. Namo Amida Butsu. I have to follow the Buddha's path. It has that kind of pull on us. Shinran also tells us that the utterance of Namo Amida Butsu destroys our doubting process. Is the promise of comfort and liberation for all sure to be fulfilled? Objectively speaking, maybe, maybe not. But restlessly worrying is of no value. We should only invest a little tiny bit of time in our doubting. Yes, is it true or not? We don't know. We don't really know. I don't know. You don't know. Do we believe it's true? Absolutely I do. Absolutely I do. So I'm not going to waste my time in restless worrying. It's not that you can't doubt something is true. You must doubt everything. But you can't spend all your time going, is it true? Is it true? Is it true? It ruins your life. Shinran Shonin tells us that our birth in the Pure Land, our eventual Buddhahood, will be settled In that moment when we hear the vow, when we hear the name as the vow, when we hear the promise in the name, in Namo Amida Butsu, in Namanda Butsu, that vow, the very real assurance of the Buddha can be heard. Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. The sutras say that this is a teaching that is taught by all the Buddhas. There's about 400 sutras, 600 sutras, something like that. And some of them are very important and some of them aren't all that important. And we're told that this one will be taught by all the Buddhas in all the directions, some version of this teaching. And so we actually hear this teaching because the Buddhas accept it. The teaching will be given by all the Buddhas on all the planets, in all the realms, and in all of their lineages of teachings. It will come out. Shinran encourages us to stop doubting and to trust, because you're not going to get there without what he calls the karma consciousness of faith. Even though the name and the light exist, Shinran tells us, without trusting, you're not going to get there. In this one moment, it is settled that you're going to be in there. So there's two meanings to the term settled, and they're both carried by the Japanese term ketsujo and sadamaru, which Shinran uses. Sadamaru means it's settled. That one moment, Namo Amida Butsu, feels precious to you. That one moment, Namo Amida Butsu, sounds like the Buddha's voice. That one moment, Namanda, where you trust, is settled. You will be a Buddha. That's settled. But there's another kind of settling that's important, and that's the settling in of this vision into your life. And how well that happens depends a lot on how often you attend service, how often you listen to Dharma talks, how often you read books, how often you question what you read. All this, saying the Nembutsu aloud, Namanda, Buddhamanda, Namandabu, Namandabu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Saying the Nembutsu, all this can help with the settling in of this light and this kindness into our lives. Maybe these visions of the truth will come in fits and starts. Maybe there'll be this gradual sedimentation where more and more your actions reflect the love of the Buddha. I'm going to retell an anecdote from about 12 years ago. We all remember the Hokuriku tsunami and the terrible losses in Japan. There's one story that following the tsunami, this policeman was helping organize the potluck, the food they had for the victims, the refugees, and the policeman saw one boy. There's a lot of adults, and there's one boy who's just 10 years old, and he goes up and talks to him. This article was in the Rafu Shinpo, that's why I read it, that's why I know this. And this, as it turned out, the ethnically Vietnamese, Japanese citizen who is a policeman had a sandwich, and he told the boy a little white lie. He said, "Oh, I have 2 of these, why don't you take this one?" It was really just one sandwich. The boy took the sandwich, walked up to the table, he put it with the other food for whoever came up and said he had to share this. This boy had just seen his father killed, and he knew his mother was gone. They had moved the students up to the 3rd story, and he saw the water hit his neighborhood, and he saw his father in a car coming toward the school, probably worried about him, trying to help him. He saw the car, his father in the car, go under the waves of the tsunami. And he still was thinking of others. This is the settling into our lives of nobility. I don't know if that boy was a Jodo Shinshu Buddhist or a Buddhist. What we're really talking about is goodness. For him, I don't know if he connected this with Amida Buddha. I do. What we talk about, the vow of universal liberation, this is how we respond. This is the grateful response to this truth. Giving to others, doing for others, not thinking only of yourself. In that one moment of Shinjin, there's no room for contrivance. You are your true self. Now, Shinjin, or if we may for the moment call it trusting confidence, it perhaps operates at another level than the conscious mind. It's not something we do consciously. It does happen. Trusting happens. Shinjin happens. Faith happens. Looking at the Buddha's realm of purity and goodness, the Pure Land, it's a nirvanic realm that we share with all awoken people. It's not a subjective state of my mind. It's a realm that we share with others. This awakening process is beyond counting. Even to call it oneness is too much. It's beyond our comprehension altogether, and it's real and it's true, and it is embracing us, encompassing us, transforming us for the better. Shinran's talk about our awakening includes paradoxical statements. He says that enlightenment's not difficult to attain, but faith is very difficult to attain. And the reason for that is because it's not something you do. Maybe someone can sit in meditation, not me, but for 40 years and bang, break through the wall to the other side of light. But not everyone can do that. And so it's that trusting in the light that's important. But you can't do that for yourself. You just find it there. It's of our nature to trust. Does a dog have Buddha nature? Does a dog have dog nature? Yeah, he does. It's not hard for a dog to be a dog. It's not hard for us to trust. It's who we are. It's what we are. The Shinjin, the faith, the entrusting, the trusting confidence is the active presence of the vow. This is what it means for the Buddha to promise enlightenment to all. It's not something we do consciously. It's not about being so sure consciously. Our path, Shinjin, trusting confidence in the Buddha's vow, saying Amida's name occasionally in forms like Namo Amida Butsu, Namada Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. It's not a matter of always being so sure moment after moment. The Buddha's promise includes us all. Those who are so sure, those who are a bit worried, those who hope but wonder. We're all included. It doesn't matter how sure you are. The promise of enlightenment includes us, people living in some uncertainty. We still live in some uncertainty in this life, and we are included within the vow. I trust the calling voice of the Buddha, Namo Amida Butsu. I trust the promise of soothing liberation, Namo Amida Butsu. Am I very sure about this? No. I'm not so sure the vows of Amida Buddha will free me. I just refuse to invest any significant time in doubting it. And that's something a bit different. Not wasting your time doubting is not the same thing of being so sure. Beware of being so sure about anything. Refusing to invest a whole lot of time in doubting the future is something you can do along with me, something we can all do. We all have the Nembutsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namada Butsu. We all have a notion of the realm of light opening to include us. Why should we invest much time doubting it? Here we are in April of 2023. Does gravity on the surface of the planet Earth still work at 32 feet per second per second? It did yesterday. I haven't tested it today. Is that 32 feet per second per second? That could, that could be 31 feet per second per second. I can't. That could be 32. I don't know, man. Do I go testing whether gravity is going at 32 feet per second today like it was yesterday? Of course not. That would be a waste of time. Yesterday I walked my path, the Nembutsu path, trusting that it will lead me to the Buddha's pure realm, to the Buddha's realm of wholesome joy and goodness, the Buddha's realm of shared freedom. Should I worry about that? Well, you may entertain doubts. I may entertain doubts on occasion, but I don't live by the doubts. I live by my trust in this promise. I won't waste time doubting that the promise is real. I encourage you not to waste much time doubting that this is true. Say the name, Namo Amida Butsu. Say the Buddha's Nembutsu, Namanda Butsu. Say the name, trust the vow. It's not that I'm so sure, it's that I choose to walk this path. I choose to walk the Nembutsu path, as Shinran explained it. Won't you all join me? It's not just Neil Young who wrote those lyrics, also the Buddha is telling you, walk with me. I'll never let you down just so long as you walk with me and let me walk with you. Walk with me. This is the Buddha's message. Walk this Nembutsu path, Namo Amida Butsu. And in time, all will be well, and all will be well, and every manner of thing will be well. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you for listening to this message here at our Shotsuki Hoyo service in April. I titled the service Living with Uncertainty, something like that. But what I'm really asking you to do is live with certainty, to stop worrying sometimes and to take it in. You are loved, you are protected, you are being guided into the light and the goodness. Namo Amida Butsu. I will close the Dharma message portion of our service with the Nembutsu. Those who don't mind to, please join me in saying the Buddha's name a few times. We rely upon the source of limitless wisdom and endless life. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu. Thank you very much.